You're backing out of your driveway in 1985, coffee in hand, heading to work in your brand new Chevy pickup truck. You have no idea that the fuel tank sitting right next to your driver's seat is about to become a 20-gallon bomb. For 14 years, from 1973 to 1987, General Motors built over 4.7 million pickup trucks with a design flaw so deadly that routine side impacts became death sentences. We're talking about side-mounted fuel tanks that exploded on impact, tanks that GM's own engineers warned were dangerous, tanks that killed over 300 people. But here's what they never told you. This wasn't an accident. This was a calculated decision where your safety was worth exactly $8.59 per truck. So, I'm breaking down the deadliest automotive cover-up in American history, how a simple design choice killed hundreds of drivers, and why it took 21 years to finally expose the truth. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how corporate cost-cutting turned America's most popular truck into a rolling death trap. The birth of a death trap, 1973. Let me take you back to 1973. The oil crisis is hitting America hard. Gas prices are skyrocketing from 38 cents to over $1 per gallon. Americans want bigger fuel tanks, more range, more capacity. So GM's engineers come up with a solution for their new CK pickup trucks. Mount the fuel tanks outside the frame rails, right behind the cab, right next to the driver. It's brilliant engineering from a packaging standpoint. You get 20 gallons of fuel capacity without making the truck longer or sacrificing bed space. But there's one massive problem. In a side impact, those tanks become bombs. The alternative? Mount the tanks inside the frame rails like Ford and Dodge were doing. But that would cost an extra $8.59 per truck in materials and labor. GM is planning to build millions of these trucks. That's tens of millions of dollars. So they choose the cheaper option. The decision is made in a conference room in Detroit. Executives look at spreadsheets, they weigh costs versus benefits. Human lives don't appear on those spreadsheets. The first CK trucks with side saddle tanks roll off the assembly line in late 1973. Within months, the crashes start, and people start dying. The pattern emerges 1974 to 1979. The crashes follow the same deadly script every time. Side impact, tank rupture, fuel spillage, fire, death. 1974. The first documented fatality occurs in Texas. A pickup truck gets hit on the driver's side. The tank ruptures. The truck explodes. The driver burns to death. 1975. Another death in California. Same scenario, same result. 1976. A teenager in Michigan dies the same way. But here's what's truly shocking. GM starts tracking these crashes internally. They have engineers studying the failure modes, lawyers calculating settlement costs, accountants running cost-benefit analyses. They know exactly what's happening, they know exactly why it's happening, and they know exactly how to fix it. But they don't. By 1979, GM's own internal data shows a clear pattern. Side saddle tanks rupture in crashes that wouldn't be fatal with properly protected fuel systems. The tanks are mounted in what engineers call the crush zone, the area most likely to be damaged in a side impact. When another vehicle hits the side of the truck, there's nothing protecting the tank. No frame rail, no structural barrier, nothing. The tank gets crushed like a soda can. Fuel sprays everywhere. Any spark ignites an inferno. But GM keeps building them because the math works in their favor. Each wrongful death settlement averages $200,000 in 1979 dollars. Fixing the design would cost $40 million per year in additional manufacturing costs. The choice is simple from a financial standpoint. Let people die. It's cheaper. The engineering evidence, 1980 to 1985. By 1980, GM's own crash tests confirm what everyone in the engineering department already knows. The side saddle tanks are death traps. Internal crash test footage shows tanks rupturing in impacts as low as 30 miles per hour. Fuel spraying in all directions. Test vehicles bursting into flames. The footage is horrifying and it's conclusive, but these tests are immediately classified as confidential. The footage is locked in corporate vaults. The reports are buried in filing cabinets. Only a handful of executives and lawyers ever see the evidence. Meanwhile, GM quietly begins redesigning the fuel system for their next generation trucks. The 1988 models will get tanks mounted inside the frame rails, exactly what safety experts had been demanding for 15 years, exactly what Ford and Dodge had been doing all along. But the millions of trucks already on the road, those stayed deadly because a recall would cost billions of dollars, and GM shareholders matter more than customer safety. The company's internal documents from this period are chilling. Memos discussing acceptable loss ratios, reports calculating the cost per fatality, spreadsheets weighing litigation expenses versus design modifications. It's corporate sociopathy disguised as business analysis. The whistleblower emerges, 1986. Enter Byron Block. He's an automotive safety consultant with 20 years of experience, former crash test engineer, former GM employee, and he's seen enough. Block has been tracking side saddle tank crashes since 1974. He's studied the wreckage, interviewed the survivors, analyzed the failure modes. He knows the trucks are killers. He knows GM knows it too. So he starts testifying in wrongful death lawsuits, showing crash test footage, explaining the engineering failures, exposing the cover-up. Block's testimony is devastating. He explains how proper fuel tank protection works. He shows examples from other manufacturers. He demonstrates why GM's design is inherently dangerous. GM tries everything to discredit him. They question his credentials. They attack his motives. They claim he's biased against the company. But Block has something they don't, the truth. And the truth is about to get very expensive for General Motors. His expert testimony helps win several major wrongful death cases. Juries award millions in damages. The media starts paying attention, and GM's carefully constructed wall of silence begins to crack. The Smoking Gun, 1987 to 1992. The breakthrough comes in a 1987 wrongful death lawsuit in Georgia. The case involves a 17-year-old who died when his 1985 Chevy pickup was hit by a drunk driver. The impact wasn't severe, maybe 35 miles per hour. In a properly designed truck, the kid would have walked away with bruises. Instead, he burned to death while paramedics watched helplessly. The lawsuit forces GM to turn over internal documents. And what those documents reveal is absolutely devastating. A 1973 internal memo from GM's engineering department states, the current side saddle tank design may result in fuel spillage and fire in certain side impact crashes. May result? The engineers knew it would happen, but the memo also includes a cost-benefit analysis that's even more damning. Fixing the design, $8.59 per truck. Estimated legal costs from wrongful death suits, $2.40 per truck. The math was simple. Lawsuits were cheaper than safety, so they chose lawsuits. More documents surface as the case progresses. Engineering reports detailing tank failure modes. Crash test data showing fuel spillage and side impacts. Executive memos discussing acceptable casualty rates. Legal strategies for defending wrongful death cases. All proving the same thing. GM knew the tanks were deadly and built them anyway. The documents show that GM's own engineers recommended moving the tanks inside the frame rails as early as 1974. The recommendation was rejected by management as too expensive. Instead, they chose to fight each wrongful death case individually. It was cheaper to let people die and pay their families than to fix the design. The government investigation, 1992. By 1992, the evidence is overwhelming. Over 300 people have died in side saddle tank fires. Thousands more have been severely burned. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration finally launches a formal investigation. They review 15 years of crash data, study the engineering, interview victims' families. They conduct their own crash tests. The results are horrifying. In test after test, the side saddle tanks rupture and spill fuel. In test after test, the vehicles burst into flames. In test after test, the crash test dummies would have died. NHTSA's conclusion is unequivocal. The side saddle tanks are defective and dangerous. The agency documents over 1,800 fires involving these trucks. They identify 300 plus fatalities directly caused by fuel tank ruptures. They estimate that thousands more people have been injured. In 1994, NHTSA demands a full recall of 4.7 million trucks. GM's response? They refuse. They claim the trucks meet all federal safety standards that existed when they were built. They argue that the crashes would have been fatal anyway. They hire an army of lawyers and lobbyists to fight the recall, and they spend millions on public relations campaigns claiming their trucks are safe. The battle between GM and the federal government becomes a media circus. The $51 million deal, 1994. The fight between GM and NHTSA drags on for months. Congressional hearings are held, criminal investigations are launched, the media coverage is relentless, GM's stock price plummets, their reputation is in ruins, truck sales are declining. Finally, GM agrees to a settlement. But here's the kicker, they still won't admit the trucks are defective. Instead, they agree to spend $51 million on safety research and education. They'll fund crash test facilities. They'll sponsor safety programs. But they won't recall the trucks. They won't fix the deadly design. And they won't admit that 300 plus people died because of their cost cutting. The settlement is announced as a victory for safety, but it's actually a victory for corporate lawyers. GM avoids a massive recall that would have cost billions. They avoid admitting liability for hundreds of deaths, and they avoid setting a precedent for future safety cases. The trucks stay on the road, the tanks stay dangerous, and people keep dying. The technical reality. Let me explain exactly why these tanks were so deadly. In a proper fuel system design, tanks are mounted inside the vehicle's frame rails. The frame rails are the strongest part of the truck's structure. They're designed to absorb impact energy and protect critical components. When another vehicle hits the side of a properly designed truck, the frame rail takes the impact. The fuel tank stays protected behind this barrier. But GM mounted their tanks outside the frame rails. In a side impact, there's nothing between the tank and the other vehicle. The tank is mounted in what engineers call the crush zone, the area designed to deform and absorb energy. When the crush zone does its job, it crushes the fuel tank. The tank ruptures. Fuel spills everywhere. Any ignition source creates an inferno. It's basic physics, and GM's engineers understood this from day one. Ford proved it could be done safely. Their F-150 trucks had frame-mounted tanks throughout this period. Dodge did the same thing. Their Ram trucks had protected fuel systems. Only GM chose the deadly design because it saved $8.59 per truck. The engineering drawings from 1973 show that GM considered the safer design. They had blueprints for frame-mounted tanks. They knew how to build them, but they chose the cheaper option, and 300 plus people paid with their lives. The continuing danger. Here's what should terrify you. These trucks are still on the road. Right now, thousands of 1973 to 1987 Chevy and GMC pickups are driving around with side saddle tanks. Time bombs waiting for the right crash. Because GM never recalled them, never fixed them, never even warned current owners about the danger. The $51 million settlement didn't make these trucks any safer. It just made the problem someone else's responsibility. If you see one of these trucks on the highway, stay away from the sides. If you're thinking about buying a classic pickup, avoid these model years. If you own one of these trucks, sell it immediately. If someone you love drives one, show them this video. Because GM's lawyers may have won in court, but physics doesn't care about legal settlements. These trucks are still death traps. They're still killing people. And GM still doesn't care. The engineering lessons. The side saddle tank disaster taught the automotive industry several crucial lessons. First, fuel system protection is non-negotiable. Tanks must be shielded from impact by structural barriers. Second, cost-cutting on safety features always backfires. The lawsuits and recalls cost far more than proper design. Third, internal crash testing must be transparent. Secret tests enable cover-ups and delay necessary fixes. Fourth, government oversight is essential. Companies won't self-regulate on safety when profits are at stake. These lessons led to dramatic improvements in automotive safety. Stricter fuel system standards were implemented, better crash test requirements were established, more aggressive government enforcement was instituted. Modern trucks are infinitely safer because of what we learned from GM's deadly mistake. Today's pickup trucks have fuel tanks mounted inside reinforced structures. They have impact-absorbing barriers. They have automatic fuel cutoff systems. The technology exists to prevent these tragedies. It existed in 1973 too. GM just chose not to use it. The corporate culture problem. But the real lesson of the side saddle tank scandal isn't technical, it's cultural. The disaster revealed a corporate mindset that valued profits over people. Engineers who raised safety concerns were ignored or transferred. Executives who knew about the deaths got bonuses for keeping costs down. Lawyers who covered up the evidence got promotions for protecting the company. That culture didn't die with the side saddle tanks. It just evolved, adapted, found new ways to prioritize profits over safety. The same mentality that created the side saddle tanks has created other automotive disasters. The Ford Pinto's exploding gas tank, the Firestone tire failures, the GM ignition switch defects. Different decades, different technologies, same corporate culture. And it's still operating today in boardrooms across America. The victim's legacy. Over 300 people died because GM saved $8.59 per truck. fathers who never came home from work, teenagers who died on their way to school, mothers who burned to death in grocery store parking lots, construction workers who died in company trucks, farmers who perished in vehicles they trusted. Their deaths weren't accidents. They weren't acts of God. They weren't unavoidable tragedies. They were the predictable result of corporate greed. But their sacrifice led to better safety standards that have saved thousands of lives, stricter fuel system regulations, better crash test protocols, more aggressive government oversight. That's their legacy. That's why their story matters. That's why we can't let GM's lawyers rewrite history, the modern reality. Today's trucks are incredibly safe compared to the side saddle death traps of the 1970s and 1980s. Fuel tanks are properly protected behind structural barriers. Crash structures are engineered specifically for safety. Government oversight is much stronger than it was 50 years ago. But the mentality that created the side saddle tanks still exists in corporate America. Companies still cut corners on safety when they think they can get away with it. They still run cost-benefit analyses that put price tags on human lives. They still fight recalls and deny responsibility when their products kill people. The only difference is they've gotten better at hiding it. Better lawyers, better PR firms, better lobbying operations. But the fundamental problem remains. When profits are threatened, safety becomes optional. The ongoing investigation. The side saddle tank case officially closed in 1994 with GM's $51 million settlement. But the trucks are still out there, still dangerous, still killing people. Every year, a few more side impact crashes turn deadly because of GM's 1973 decision. The victims' families still file wrongful death lawsuits. GM still fights them with armies of lawyers. And the trucks still burn, because fixing a 50-year-old design flaw would be expensive. And GM's shareholders still matter more than customer safety. The company's official position today is that the side saddle tanks were safe. Despite 300+ deaths, despite the internal documents, despite the overwhelming evidence, they still claim it was driver error, bad luck, unavoidable accidents. It's corporate gaslighting on a massive scale, and it shows they learned nothing from this tragedy. The side saddle tank scandal should have been a wake-up call for the entire automotive industry. Instead, it became a case study in crisis management. How to deny responsibility, how to fight recalls, how to manage deadly design flaws. That playbook is still being used today by companies facing safety crises. But here's what gives me hope. Stories like this matter. When we expose the truth, companies are forced to improve. When we remember the victims, we honor their sacrifice. When we hold corporations accountable, they think twice before cutting safety corners. The 300+ people who died in side saddle tank fires didn't die in vain if we learn from their tragedy. If we demand better from the companies that build our vehicles. If we refuse to let corporate lawyers rewrite history. If you want to see how other engineering disasters destroyed entire car companies, you need to watch my next video about the top 10 engines that killed automotive brands. From Oldsmobile's diesel disaster that destroyed customer trust forever, to Cadillac's V8 6.4 nightmare that proved computers weren't ready for cars, I'm counting down the power plants that proved good engines make companies and bad engines break them. Hit that subscribe button if you want more deep dives into automotive engineering failures and corporate cover-ups. And if you know someone who owns a 1973 to 1987 Chevy or GMC pickup with side-mounted fuel tanks, share this video with them. Their life might literally depend on it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.